Hi there. I'm making a video for you today that's part of a series called Steps to Sight Singing, and I'm referencing specifically the video number 5 in the series, which was labeled Techniques. And in that video, I gave a model lesson to my choral methods students online on Zoom, showing them some ideas and techniques to how to prepare their choral singers for some sight singing examples in their rehearsals. Isolated sight singing, they're really focusing on music literacy skills. Anyway, within that video, I show those techniques in action, but I wanted to step back and really just devote a few minutes to talking about those techniques, talking to teachers, why they're important, and to help you build those techniques in your rehearsal strategies. I'm sure that many of you already know these techniques, but just to maybe think about them as a set or just think about how valuable they are, and maybe it can refresh your ideas or your planning for the future. So I call these techniques, I know it's super silly, but it seems to make sense to my choral methods students. I call these techniques warm and cold sight reading. Okay, so it's not fancy, but anyway, we all know what a cold sight read is, where you just, immediately you look at the music and you scan what key is it. Is it major or minor? So what key is it? Where's my tonal center? Where does my tonal center live on the staff? Get quickly oriented, and then you quickly scan the example to see if there are any problematic spots, and then ready, set, go. So you read it down cold, and usually I say to my choral singers, I say to them, okay, so when we're doing a cold read, don't stop. Look ahead. Make sure you're visually looking ahead. Don't stop. And if you make a mistake, get back in and keep going. And good luck. Here we go. So that's the idea of sight singing. Is that's the ultimate goal. Is just to see an example, read it cold, and be able to get back on track if you do have a bobble or a mistake of some sort. That's the goal. But we know that as teachers that takes a lot of time and practice to get to that stage, no matter what the tone set is or no matter what the difficulty is of the example that you're reading. It takes effort and practice to get there. So I teach my choral method students, as you saw in the video number 5 in this series. I teach them ways to warm up that sight singing experience. So we're warming it up. We're preparing. We're getting ready. Ultimately, we're creating small steps of success so that the students can eventually do a cold sight read successfully. Because the last thing we want to do is have this just, crumble. We want it to be as successful as possible for the teacher and for the singers in the choral ensembles. So I have found significant success myself teaching this to my high school students because I isolate the elements that we ask our singers to be responsible for when they sight read. We're asking them to be responsible for visual orientation, so looking at the staff and decoding that. Like, for example, if you're using solfege, like where's your do, where does the mi live, where does the so live, like all of those things. Visual understanding of the staff. We're asking them to recreate the rhythms, and we're asking them to recreate the sounds that are associated with both the pitch and the rhythm. And those sounds have to come from somewhere. They have to be internal. So they already have to be internally organized for the students before they can recreate them. So in these warm techniques, I'm isolating just a visual orientation skill, isolating just the rhythm, and then putting some of those elements together so that we can have small steps to success. So one of the suggested warm techniques is so simple. It's just to identify the pitches on the staff, without rhythm, without sound. And that's just as simple as, okay, if do lives here on the staff, then your next pitch is going to be what? Is it going to be a re, or is it going to be a mi, or who knows what? So just visually identifying those things. Ultimately, your singers won't need that, but if you're at the beginning stage, you're going to need to practice that. So that's just visually taking in what you see on the staff and labeling it without rhythm. One of the other warm techniques would just be to focus on the rhythm that they see in the sight reading example. So you could say that rhythm on ta. You could use one of your rhythm syllable systems like a takadimi, or maybe you use the Kadai Chevy system, or maybe use the Gordon system of do day. Like there are a lot of systems out there, or you could just say all the rhythm on ta. I would encourage you to make some kind of sound with your mouth instead of just clapping, because they're ultimately going to be sight singing rhythm, so I like for that to be connected to some kind of a vocal sound. But anyway, just isolating the rhythm. Okay, and then another warm technique that I demonstrated in the video number 5 was to speak the solfege in rhythm. So here you are actually combining that visual isolation with practicing just the rhythm in isolation. You're putting those two skills together, and it's not as easy as it sounds actually, because it's quite a complex series that we're asking them to do. But that gives them a step, a small chance, a small increment of difficulty here. So if they've already isolated what the pitches are on the staff, they've already practiced the rhythm in isolation, then now putting it together should be a little bit easier for them. So speaking the solfege syllables in rhythm with a conservatively slow tempo to give them a chance at success here. Okay, so hopefully that was successful. If not, you can go back and review or isolate any measures or any particular problem spots in there. But that's usually a good indicator as the teacher to see where they are in their level of assimilation here on these skills. Another warm technique would be to sing each pitch that they see without rhythm. So here, like for example, if they see on the staff a do and a mi and a so and a re, like let's say do, mi, so, re. So if that is what they're expected to do in the first measure of their sight singing, then they've already visually identified this. They could already speak it in rhythm. But now the most challenging step is, can they recreate the aural sounds that are associated with those solfege syllables? So I like to have my students, so every note gets a beat. Ignore the rhythm. Like every note gets a beat. Can you recreate these sounds? Do, mi, so, re. Every note getting a beat actually might be even too challenging. You could just use your hand. Okay, sing the first sound. Okay, when I move my hand, you sing the next pitch. When I move my hand, you sing the next pitch. Like, that would even be a step before that, before each note gets one beat. So those are ways to help the students build small steps of success before you ask them to put it all together. Like I said, the end goal is to be able to do a cold sight read. That's obviously the goal of all of this. But when you're first beginning and first trying to get some success at sight singing in general, then these are things that can really help. It doesn't matter what books you use or internet sources, because basically what they do is they give you material to sight read, and it's pretty much up to the teacher to prepare the students for success with that material. So no matter the difficulty level of what you're trying to do, these steps can be helpful. And by the way, like as your students get successful and your difficulty level increases, just because they can do a cold sight read with this tone set or with these intervals or whatever, with these particular rhythmic elements, that doesn't mean that they can always continue to do cold sight reads. So as your examples get more difficult, the intervals change, the tone set increases, maybe you begin to have some modified syllables for some chromatics, or maybe the rhythm itself increases, then it's really a good idea as a teacher then to take a step back and to revisit some of these warm techniques, ultimately leading to cold sight reads with that new increased difficulty level. So I'm not saying that every day, every example that you sight read needs all of these warm techniques, but this will give you some things to pick and choose from, and maybe just help increase your vocabulary of techniques that you can use with your singers in rehearsals. So I hope this is helpful for you, and if you have any questions or would like to contact me, then you can find me and find my contact information at the University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music. Okay, thanks. See you next time. Bye.